My name is Tom. I got married to my wife about a year ago. Her name is Mary. Back in middle school, Mary and I were classmates, but we didn't really talk or hang that time. However, we reconnected at our high school reunion and ended up sitting next to each other by chance, which led us to become closer and eventually start dating. Mary is a modest and kind person. She's not a talker, but she always listens to my stories with a smile on her face. Being with Mary feels so warm and peaceful, and thinking about our future together just felt like the natural course. We got married when we were both 24, after dating for 4 years. Our peaceful happiness continued after marriage, and we recently celebrated our first anniversary. I work as a typical office worker, and Mary is a nurse. One Friday night, after work, we met up at the restaurant where I proposed to her. I'm sorry I'm a bit late. I changed my clothes in the department store's restroom. She showed up about 10 minutes late, wearing a lovely beige dress. She probably changed after work since she normally wears casual clothes to her job. No problem, shall we go in? I love everyday Mary, but being with her all dressed up for a special occasion made me a bit nervous and excited. The food and drinks were as delicious as they were a year ago, and chatting together felt even more enjoyable than usual. In this way, I was very happy to be able to celebrate our first anniversary together, and with that feeling, I gave her a bouquet. It was a bouquet filled with Haze Grads, which Mary loves. I'm usually not the kind to do romantic stuff, but I heard a certain celebrity couple mention that giving bouquets on anniversaries was their secret to a happy marriage, so I decided to give it a shot. I was embarrassed, but seeing Mary's happy face made it all worth it. Let's keep it going. We laughed after saying that, and the anniversary dinner ended. I felt overwhelmed with happiness and believed that, together with Mary, we could overcome any hurdles, even if our family grew or tough times came our way. But, as if testing us, a big challenge came sooner than I thought. It was about a month after our first wedding anniversary. I work in sales, and around 3 p.m. my last meeting wrapped up. My boss told me I could head straight home. I was thrilled to get home early since today was Mary off too, so I sped off in my car. At a red light, I thought about texting Mary, but a mischievous thought of surprising her made me refrain. I stopped at a convenience store, bought 2 of Mary's favorite cream puffs, and was about 10 minutes away from home when I stopped at an intersection. Next to the red light, I spotted a familiar face. It was Mary. I guessed she might be out for lunch with a friend since she had the day off. But, as I kept watching, to my astonishment, she was holding hands with a guy around our age, and they seemed happy. I couldn't believe my eyes. I rubbed them and looked again, but it was undoubtedly Mary's face. I wanted to see what they were up to, but the light turned green and the car behind me honked, so I had to move on. I kept telling myself Mary wouldn't cheat, and tried to focus on driving. But it was a fact that Mary was holding hands with another man. My mind was a whirlwind, so I parked my car in a nearby large park and sat alone for a while to think. However, even after thinking about it, I couldn't organize my thoughts, and for the time being, I concluded that I had no choice but to watch Minori's reaction and see how things would go. When I arrived home around the usual time, Mary greeted me with her regular cheerful welcome back. "Oh, yeah, I'm home?" I was dumbfounded to see her acting so normal. Didn't she feel guilty about something, or was she able to act this way because nothing shady happened? But they were holding hands, and I don't think there's any other reason adults should hold hands. The more I saw Mary acting normal, the more confused I got. Susie's grandma sent a bunch of asparagus and she shared some with us, so it's an asparagus party, Mary said cheerfully as she headed to the kitchen. Susie is Mary's best friend since middle school. I'm acquainted with her because we went to the same after-school club. Oh, I see. When my response was lacking due to my inability to concentrate, she curiously looked at me, saying, "Don't you like it? Tom, you like asparagus, don't you?" "No, I'm happy. I should thank Susie." I hurriedly responded, but was she really with Susie even though she was just with a guy? But indeed, there are plenty of asparagus. Maybe I mistook her. Or was she preparing thoroughly to deceive me? My heart ached at the thought of doubting Mary, who was preparing dinner with a smile. I think I still wanted to believe her. In the end, we finished our meal as usual and spent an ordinary day. She was pleased with the cream puff, just like the usual Mary. The next day, after leaving for work, I messaged Susie, who said she had given me the asparagus. Did you really meet Mary yesterday and give her asparagus? I expected this to be a non-awkward way to ask. Then she promptly replied, yes. You seemed really happy because you like it. After all, Mary wasn't lying. I couldn't believe that Susie, who is known for her strong sense of justice, would be part of Mary's infidelity. I tried not to think about it, thinking it was just a mistake. After that, Mary returned to her normal, calm daily life. I gradually forgot to doubt Mary, and when I thought my peaceful life had returned, I saw something I shouldn't have seen. It was a beautiful day, and during my lunch break, I decided to eat lunch on a bench in the park. I often visit this park, so I usually sit on the bench in front of the fountain, but when I got closer, I noticed a couple sitting there. So, I sat on a bench in the shade of the trees, where I could see the fountain. While eating the lunch Mary had made, I thought to myself, it would be fun to bring lunch to the park with Mary like this. I was looking at the couple on the bench in front of the fountain when something unbelievable entered the field of my vision. Mary. I was so shocked that I inadvertently blurted out, yes, there she was, sitting intimately with a man I didn't know. It was Mary. She was smiling at this stranger with that blissful smile that I know so well. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. But there's no way I could mistake Mary. To be frank, there was no way to mistake her. That was definitely Mary. While my mind was blank, the two of them got up and started walking again, hand in hand. Was she so engrossed in this man that she didn't notice I was right there? If she had changed her feelings, it would be easier if she told me honestly than being nice to both of us. With my sadness, a feeling of resentment also welled up in my heart. After that, I somehow finished work and returned home at the usual time. And there was Mary, who seemed to have just gotten home, saying, "Welcome home. I just got home too, so I'll quickly start making dinner." How can she behave so normally? Could it be that she's been deceiving me for a long time and used to lying? "Where have you been?" I asked. "Work, you know. Mary is a nurse at a clinic and she always works on weekdays." I know that, but she was walking in the park with a man during the day. It doesn't seem like Mary has any intention of telling the truth. She's just trying to keep deceiving me. I finally snapped at Mary's insincerity and said, "You don't have to lie anymore." Mary looked puzzled and asked, "What are you talking about?" I couldn't keep up with her act anymore. I handed her something I had prepared and said, "I can't trust you anymore. Please leave." What I held in my hand was divorce papers. "What? Why? What do you mean you don't believe me?" Mary asked, and like she is about to cry and looks confused. It's amazing how she can cry when she's not even sad. As I thought this, I couldn't bring myself to explain the situation. "Why don't you think about it? I'm not coming home tonight," I said and left the house. I said that and left the house. Just a short while ago, we had celebrated our first anniversary, and I was looking forward to the future. Who would have thought a future like this was waiting? I stayed in a nearby motel that night, filled with despair, and went straight to work the next day. Mary didn't contact me in the meantime, but there was a message from her by the time I finished work. I've given it some thought, and I can't figure out why you're so mad. But if I've upset you in any way, even unknowingly, I'm sorry. I want to be with you, Tom, and I want to make an effort for us. So, I want to meet and talk, face to face. Whenever you can, please get in touch. I'm sorry. Her message was so like her, sincere and heartfelt, if it weren't for the fact she was having an affair. After such a betrayal, I couldn't fathom why she would still lie. If she's that into the other guy, smiling so happily, she should just break it off with me. But then again, we were supposed to be a couple that talks through everything. Maybe it's not good to keep running away without talking. I was starting to think that maybe I should calm down and consider this too. What I've seen, what I've felt. If I share everything, maybe Mary will also open up. However, as much as I want to, I can't imagine us living like before, knowing about the affair. With that thought, I simply replied, "All right, I'm coming home tomorrow." And from Mary, "Thank you," was the reply I received, spending the rest of the day in the business hotel I had booked. The next day, As soon as my work was done, I had to meet with Mary. I was a little nervous while working. I had a meeting near the park where we were the other day, so I went to the park out of habit. Once I got there, I thought I should have avoided this place to avoid remembering the unpleasant things. But I had already parked my car, so I decided to quickly grab something to eat and head home. So I headed to my usual bench. As I was carrying my lunch from the convenience store to my usual bench, there was a couple sitting there. My heart thumped heavily. I felt like I could barely breathe. Suppressing my racing heartbeat, I passed in front of the couple and sat on the bench where I sat the other day. There, I timidly looked at the couple's faces, and as I expected, it was Mary. My mind went blank, even after I had pushed for divorce, and she had tearfully said that she couldn't believe it and apologized as I was running away from home, promising to talk things through today. In the midst of all this, she was happily having an affair again. I couldn't understand at all what Mary was thinking. Sadness, anger, various emotions welled up inside me, but I might have also felt something like fear because I couldn't understand the meaning of her actions. Then today, it was the man who left the bench first, leaving Mary alone on the bench. Unable to bear it anymore, I immediately got up and walked towards Mary. And when I grabbed her arm and asked, "What do you think you're doing?" What is it?" Mary said. "Is she making a fool out of me by speaking so formally and with a suspicious expression?" I couldn't understand what she meant. "What do you mean?" But when I said that much, I noticed something strange. It really felt like she was a stranger. It's true that the person in front of me was Mary, but I felt something was different. "You're Mary, isn't it?" When I said that, she looked a little surprised and then said, "I'm not." Although it could be seen as a clumsy lie that Mary told to get out of this situation, the reason her words felt more truthful was because the atmosphere of the woman who looked almost exactly like Mary was completely different. On closer inspection, I noticed that she had freckles under her eyes and on her chin, which were different from Mary's features. "Oh, I apologize. Had I been mistaking this woman for Mary all along? Or was it just today?" My mind was in chaos, but the fact remained that I had mistaken this woman for my wife. And grabbing the arm of a stranger and shouting at her, I wouldn't blame her if she called the cops. "I apologize, I mistook you for someone else." As I bowed deeply in apology, she made a surprising statement. Do you, by any chance, know someone who looks a lot like me?" Hearing her words, I instantly lifted my head. "Oh, yes, my wife has a similar face, and I mistook you for her." Then, she shared her surprising story. Apparently, her name was Lisa. She was the same age as Mary and me, and she worked as an office worker near this park. Lisa had a fiancé, who was the man she was with just now. They both work nearby, so they often meet up during their lunch break. It seems that the woman I saw in this park the other day was indeed Lisa. And the woman I saw crossing the street a few months ago was also likely Lisa, given the circumstances. As I listened to her, I was filled with deep regret. I had mistaken a woman who looked like Mary for my wife, and without listening to her side of the story, I had accused her of having an affair and demanded a divorce. I needed to apologize, but I was aware that the emotional wound I had inflicted on Mary might not heal easily. What have I done? I was so filled with remorse that I buried my face in my hands, momentarily forgetting that Lisa was there. Then, there's something else I haven't told you," Lisa said. "What is it?" In my distracted state, I asked her what it was. "I have a twin sister who I've been separated from since we were children," Lisa said. "What?" I was stunned. I asked her to explain. "I was born at Wynn. But our parents divorced when we were 4 years old, and we've been separated since then. I barely remember it. Since their breakup was due to relationship troubles, they prohibited us from seeing each other. So, I've lived my life not even knowing if my sister is alive. But I've never once forgotten about her. I've always wanted to see Mary again." Lisa's eyes filled with tears as she spoke, and I couldn't believe she was lying. "So, my wife Mary is Lisa's sister, but I've never heard Mary talk about having a twin. If your wife is indeed my sister Mary, then it's understandable that you could have made a mistake. We do look so similar." Hearing these words gave me a bit of relief. But it doesn't change the fact that I hurt Mary by hastily assuming she was cheating because of their similarity as twins. As we kept talking, the time for both of us to return to work was drawing near. So we exchanged contact information and parted for the day. I wasn't sure if she would forgive me, but I decided to first apologize to Mary and then explain about Lisa. Then I headed home. When I got home, I saw Mary with an anxious expression. Seeing her face made me feel a tight squeeze in my heart, and I immediately apologized. "Mary, I was wrong. I'm really sorry." I suddenly bowed deeply, and Mary looked at me with surprise. Then, I openly told her about my suspicion of infidelity and about meeting Lisa. After hearing everything, Mary looked confused, but she first said this: "Thank you for telling me. Tom, you don't have to apologize. I'm the one who's wrong for not telling you that I have a twin sister who was separated from me. I've troubled you, and for that I'm truly sorry." "Wait, no, you don't have to apologize, Mary." I was the one who jumped to conclusions. "I'm truly sorry." We spent a while apologizing to each other and finally were able to understand each other's feelings. And then, for the first time in a while, we were able to genuinely laugh together. After that, I heard stories from Mary about the past. It was exactly the same as what I heard from Lisa, and I understood that they were twin sisters. Mary hadn't told me not because she intended to hide it, but because her mother had told her, "Think of your twin sister as being gone." I've met Mary's mother, and she's a really nice person. It's hard to imagine such a mother-in-law saying something like that to Mary, as if she wanted to erase the past. But it could have been due to serious marital strife. Yet, just like Lisa, Mary never forgot her twin sister. She always wanted to meet her, and she started crying while talking about this. Seeing her like that, I couldn't just leave her. I suggested that we tell her mother and arrange for Mary to meet Lisa again. At first, Mary was hesitant, but it seemed like she had made up her mind to follow her true feelings. On a later day, we obtained permission from her mother, and Mary was able to reunite with Lisa. When Mary and I arrived at the park, we were significantly earlier than the appointed time, but Lisa showed up 10 minutes before as well. They really are twins. Seeing them together for the first time, I thought that to myself. The two of them hugged as soon as they met. "I'm so glad to see you're doing well." When Lisa said that, Mary replied, "Lisa, I've missed you so much," and started crying first. But then Lisa also started crying almost at the same time, and I thought, they really are twins. They were so engrossed in their twin world, chatting happily, that I was completely left out. But seeing Mary's smile, I felt truly glad. If we hadn't met Lisa, we wouldn't be sitting on this bench feeling so at peace. Thinking that, seeing the two of them so happy, filled me with joy. Ever since then, Mary and Lisa have been meeting frequently, and a few months later, we were invited to Lisa's wedding. Seeing her twin sisters so radiant, Mary was moved to tears of joy. A year later, when Mary and I had a baby, Lisa often came to visit and cried tears of joy. I'm not a twin, so I can only imagine the depth of their bond. By just watching them, I feel a sense of shared happiness. The period when I suspected Mary of cheating was a dark time for both of us. But if it was a hurdle we had to overcome to reach this happiness, then perhaps it was a good thing that it happened.